We've been together for almost 24 years now. It's hard to trust that you're gonna represent things as they were.
What would make a 36-year-old woman have an affair with a 7th grader?
So good.
What's your relationship like with your kids? How is that relevant?
You're the actress playing my mother? Look me in the eye and tell me how selfish you are.
You're different than me. You're a modern woman.
Why would you want to play someone who you think is a bad person?
It's the moral gray areas that are interesting.
Insecure people are very dangerous.
I have an idea of what's sneaking around with you. Must have felt like I shouldn't have said that.
No worries.
What were your expectations?
That my children would love me and my life would be perfect.
A little naive.
I am naive. I always have been.
Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
And I'm Jazz Susanka.
Yes, you are. I always find it funny when people get that momentary fluster of do I say my name? What is my name? I forget my name. Jay's always been on it. Jay, I think even when he was first on, he was just like, and I'm Jay Reef, and I was like, oh, hello, Jay.
He's
Very
just
good.
very like Jay would be a great like TV presenter, I feel like. He's just got that vibe.
Jay could be anything in the world. If you told me that Jay was going to be Secretary of the Treasury or something, I'd be like, yeah,
That
go
is
for
true.
it.
He just fits every box. He's great.
On the Saltburn episode, which was the first episode of this 2023 Spotlight series, you had a running thing where you would every 20 minutes or so just throw absolute hot takes out about the best films of the year. And one such movie was May December, where you threw out that you thought the final scene ruined the whole movie and was incredibly cringy. And then I said, I think that's my favorite film of the year. And then you said, oh, no, I really liked it. And so we will get to the final scene. But firstly, does this hatred of how have you come around on the final scene on a rewatch?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I rewatched it last night because I got off work early because I got off work early. Don't know why. I was about to explain why. And
Yeah.
that's all that needs to be said. And so I rewatched it last night, and I kind of came to the realization of, oh, she's meant to be a shit actress.
Yes, the whole film is this terrible cosmic joke.
Oh, because the first time I watched it, I was like, Natalie Portman, come on, what's going on, babes?
Is she supposed to be a shit actress, or is it just supposed to be like a really shitty, cheap, like exploitive Hallmark movie? Or
Yeah.
That's how I've read it. I don't know necessarily if she's I don't think she's clearly not a great actress, but it's not that kind of thing. But she's clearly not a great actress. But I think it's more so that she's put all of this time and effort into, and I think the great trick of the film is on a first watch, we presume it's some sort of, Oscar movie or something like that, and that she is this, astounding actress. She talks about the Lifetime movie that already got made. We see a clip of it, you don't look scared to me, and it looks cheap and it looks trash and it looks exploitative. And we have this whole impression that the movie that's now being made isn't going to be exploitative and isn't going to be bad and is going to have pedigree and talent behind it. And then what do we see at the end? It's another pun about a snake. And it's another, it's another kind of snake. You don't look scared. And it's all building to this. And she's like, please, can we do another one? I think I'm nearly there. And okay, sure. And it's been this, and for better or for worse, she has infiltrated this relationship and this life. The minute, well, quote unquote, that things have kind of, calmed down. They keep saying, this friend of Gracie is like, well, everything seems to have just gone quiet, and now you're going to make a movie, um, when the shit package arrives, and they go, well, well, not all the time, not as much recently, and obviously there is the matter of fact that this intrudence, whatever has come of it for Gracie, is obviously the penny drop that Joe has needed his entire life. I've been very outspoken to anybody who's ever spoken to me and wants to know my opinion that I do love May December, and I think for this series, I've been rewatching these movies in a quicker succession than I usually do, like see movies back to back. And The Killer on a third watch, I was like, oh, okay. I still loved it, still greatly enjoyed it, but I was like, okay. Killers of the Flower Moon, sorry, still loved. Oppenheimer, still loved. And this one flew by. Absolutely flew by. I really do. It is firmly Thomas Carruthers' favorite film of 2023.
That's just so fascinating to me because I would have not pegged it as Carruthers' like top pick. I just
Really?
wouldn't have.
In
No,
what sense? In what sense? In what sense?
I don't know. I just didn't think it was like your kind of movie because I first saw this movie on TikTok, which is how I found out about like all movies most recently.
Mm-hmm.
And
And this is presumably through the Charles Melton Riverdale angle of it.
No, it was through the like true life, like that the actual well, not the actual story, but the story that everyone's saying it was based on. I
Mary
love
Kay
true
Letourneau,
crime.
yeah.
Yeah. I love true crime. So I like true crime's always on my For You page. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like this movie is like being made about this real life case. And I was like, ooh. And I saw it and I was like, my mum will love that. So me and my mum watched it together when it felt like the day it dropped on
Yep.
Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like it felt like, I don't know, maybe it's because I watched it with my mum, and the films I watched with my mum are like either true crime stuff like this, true crime, but like, based on a blah 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 or based on a book, or like Mamma Mia. So I just like put it in that category. Not that this is the same as Mamma Mia, two very different
I would
movies.
dare say that they are both in their first hours just as enjoyable. The great arc of the film is that, again, watching it this morning, that first hour, I laughed more at that than, I don't know.
That's the other thing. People don't realize that this is a comedy.
Yeah, it's a very darkly. Well, no, I think it contains multitudes. I think it's very hard for people to be like, wait, it's a comedy, and without watching it, because immediately right. Let's talk about some things, because it's darkly comedic, it's melodramatic, it plays in those tones. It's also incredibly realistic and tender and very subtle. And Joe, like, you've got three different arcs basically and three different characters. You've got a deeply unnerved criminal who is in delusion, whatever state she is in, to continue her life, and is a naturally, well, she says it, I am naive. It's in many ways it's been a gift. Played by the incredible Julianne Moore. You've got this incredibly funny sort of, version of an actress, sort of self-serious actress character. And then you've also got, I mean, for my money, this comes out after Oscar nominations. I mean, the fact that this got no acting nominations at all, when about 6 months ago we all thought Charles Melton was going to swoop in and maybe win, is baffling to me. I think this is one of the most tender, subtle, beautiful break. I know he's been on Riverdale for 8 years, so it's hard to say it's a breakout, but breakout film performances of some time.
I feel like, because I watched Riverdale when he was on it, and then I stopped after like season 3 because that was a hellscape of a show. But like his acting, like phenomenal. I think I've seen him in something else as well, but I feel like this is what he'll like. He's very much gone like the opposite. Like this was his. It's kind of like Jacob Elordi, like breaking away from Kissing Booth.
Yep.
It's like the same. I see the same like kind of pattern, like path for him now that with May December.
Yeah, and I hope it continues. And I think there's something to be said. Who votes for the Oscars, Jazz?
What do you mean? Who votes for the Oscars?
Actors. And is there something about Natalie Portman's, I dare say, pitch perfect version of a self-serious actress that maybe just hit a little bit too close to home?
Like...
Because, you know, I know you were saying that you love watching based on true crime stuff and stuff. This is not a biopic of the Mary Kay Letourneau story in many, many ways, and is entirely about the exploitive nature of a lot of these based on a real story things. And I've said this, I mean, I say this all the time, is that, and there's been many projects in my mind, writing and, you know, film or plays or whatever, about looking at the exploitive nature of all of these bloody based on a true story things. And we, you know, they show all sides of it. You know, Joe, whether he believes it or not, is like, you know, they're gonna bring, you know, they're gonna bring our story to light, and people are going to understand whether he believes that or not, whether that's a lie, another lie he's telling himself. The film got this terrible conflation and grey area because it is loosely based or influenced by the Mary Kay Letourneau story, in the sense of it's a older woman from the 90s, very heavily publicized, who has an underage relationship with a mixed race man. In the real story, it's Mary Kay Letourneau, and his name here is Vili Fulau. Apologies if I've said that incorrectly.
Same as Tom's not racist.
Yeah, hashtag Tom's not racist. But the first, like, he has now come out and said in response, here we are. He's got it here because I feel, and you'll be happy on the Killers of the Flower Moon episode if you ever listen to it. I gave wide spectrum to loads of different, and I brought the things up anyway. If they had reached out to me, we could have worked together on a masterpiece. Instead, they chose to do a rip-off of my original story. I'm offended by the entire project and the lack of respect given to me, who lived through a real story and is still living it. Now, I to be honest, I don't want to undermine his experience, but it's not the only pedophile, heavily tabloid, you know, pedophile relationship there's ever been. There are blatant similarities because that was such a big one, and the fact that I believe she birthed his child, which is the other similarity. But it's used so clearly as a seed and as a framework to explore. I'm not saying it doesn't explore pedophilia in those relationships, but to explore, you know, the based on the true story thing, and how we study stories, exploit them. Can we ever know the real truth, no matter how far we dig into truth? And yeah. So, and then, you know, Natalie responded, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's not based on them. It's, you know, obviously their story influenced the culture that we all grew up and influenced the idea, but it's fictional characters that are really brought to life by Julianne and Charles so beautifully. And yeah, it's its own story. It's not meant to be a biopic, and it certainly isn't in any way, shape or form. And I think, I'm not throwing you under the bus here, but like what you're telling me, that, you know, TikTok sort of was this before the film? Was this a long time before the film, or?
Yeah, like before the film like actually like came out. That's how like I heard about it through like the grapevines of TikTok.
Yeah.
And like it was like loosely based on, because when I fell into like a deep hole of then like watching TikToks about that case, and then when I watched the film I was like, okay, not the same thing.
Yeah.
They added in even more things that are like, oh, that's really fucked up. But like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's loosely based, and I think like because they chose to have it a white woman with a POC like young boy, I think that was just like you can kind of see the color, like the colorations of like two, and like why they kept. I think it was important for them to keep it like that, but I don't think that they can claim that like this was my story because it wasn't. It's
I mean, obviously that circulated as well. The interview, one of the interviews they did. Have you seen that clip where Mary
Yeah.
Kate does the who's in charge, and then obviously that gets adopted in this film.
Yeah.
And again, you're looking so clearly at seeds and influence, and this film is so much its own thing. And Todd Haynes is a filmmaker. I mean, just look at his Bob Dylan biopic. I mean, I don't think he has any interest at all in. I also love Todd Haynes. Have you watched Carol, Jazz?
I have a very long time ago and briefly remember it, but yes, I have.
The Beautiful Carol, wonderful film. And I love Todd Haynes' work. Safe. This is his 5th collaboration with Julianne Moore, all of which are rather sensational. The wonderful Safe is incredible. Far From Heaven, a tremendous film. And yeah, I mean, I obviously love Carol as well. But this for me is like firmly, it might even be my favorite of his films. It is very much playing to a lot of my sort of not strengths, but my enjoyments. Like I love Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. I love, something with a dark edge. I love explorations of the industry. I love something with a sort of campy, melodramatic humor to it, as you know. And then, but that none of that is ever sacrificed for the deep, deep emotionality and truth and sadness that overwhelms the Joe part of the story. I really cannot think it can be underestimated how well the tones here are balanced.
That was very well said, Thomas.
Thank you very much. You can read the blog. There's hours and hours of podcasting material.
That was very good little rant you just had there. Normally I'm like, I'm not following, but that one, yeah, no, thumbs up, 10 out of 10. Because I feel like a lot of the things that I've seen about it is like people are like, oh, it's not being taken seriously enough, or it's the other end where it's like this is too serious and it's a bit weird. And I'm just a bit like, no, I feel like it gets it. No, yeah, what you said. Ditto.
Well, I think, there is obviously, and it's easy to meme and it's easy to TikTok. About 5 minutes in, we get that great, I don't think we have enough hot dog. And the zoom in and the ding, 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 and you're like, okay. And Todd, right, I'm saying this as if he's a personal friend. Todd Haynes is giving us in that very moment, this is the tone. You're either in or you're not. And people keep saying that, but also that's not exactly true, because there is this whole element of deep, deep sadness still to come, and truth and all manner. And I just think it's an incredibly prickly film, and it's a film I'll think about forever. And even now, there is no straight answers given. Presumably, Joe, well, I say presumably, hopefully Joe breaks away from the relationship, and this has been some sort of catalyst. But let's talk about Sammy Birch, because she writes this screenplay. This is her debut screenplay. She wrote the story with her partner, and this is her debut screenplay. She worked in casting with in the industry. So again, that sort of rings true with the self-tapes that we see of the young Joes. And hey, how are you? I'm from coast to coast. and that world. And what was I going to say? The only nomination it gets at the Oscars. And I maybe was I lying to myself, Jazz, that this was going to be, an Oscar race for My Beloved May December?
I think it deserved that, like, to at least have some acting nominations. I just don't know whether it's like, I don't know. It wasn't up there with like my top like 3, but it was solidly in the top 5 of the year. And I feel like it deserved more.
I don't
what
want
it
to.
got.
It's she's too easy a target, and I'm very, very sorry. But America Ferrera, I'm sorry. And it's too easy to just throw her under the bus whenever, like every one of these episodes now, like got, I don't know, I'm looking at the ones that are coming up. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I'm doing with Rhian coming soon. And it's like the minute that we talk about Rachel McAdams not being nominated, who's the first name we're going to say? It's poor America Ferrera. um, but I mean, I love Julianne. Do you have a favorite of the three performances? I'm saying three performances as if there aren't many, many other great performances in this ensemble. But of the three leads,
It's got to be Charles, hasn't it?
Mm.
I think it's the bedroom scene,
Oh.
but also the scene on the roof with his son when they get high. There's so many.
It's a very, very good film. I call it a no skipper. I remember when early in the pandemic and early in the podcast, we did Goodfellas and Terms of Endearment back to back. And despite your terrible, have I ever said on the podcast your opinion of Terms of Endearment that you found Emma annoying and were like, oh great, oh well, oh boo hoo. I was like, oh god, but like every single like again, I was watching it for the third time on the train this morning. Not the third time on a back to back.
Third time in that journey.
And she was, and it was just like every time it cuts, and the roof scene in particular, it cut to him on the roof, and I was like, "Fuck!" Another like one of the best scenes of the year. And then the dinner, and then let's start from the beginning. So first thing is we get these zoom in on butterflies, and then the beautiful music, which has been it's the Michael Legrand score for The Go-Between, which is a movie, great movie, Joseph Losey directed about from a classic novel. And it's the story of a love, very remains the day in many sense, stately homes. And it's an affair that's happening in a 13-year-old boy that is their go-between. And instead of sending love letters or anything like that, he is their go-between. And the young boy sort of becomes in love with the older woman and that sort of thing. Obviously, it never becomes about pedophilia or anything like that, but just that literary quote-unquote element, reorchestrated here by Marcello Zavos. I love Spotify. Spotify's great. Get the May December score on Spotify. I know it is must be hard with the rights issues with Michael Legrand or whatever, but can we please sort that out? Thank you. Do you love the music as much as I do, Jazz?
I think it's one of those movies where the music like is part of the story, but it's not a musical. Like obviously it's a musical part of the story, but like, do you know what I mean? When the music is just
I
so
would like to see a version of Waitress with Gracie making her cakes. Pineapple upside down. Turn that frown pineapple upside
That's so
down.
funny because I was literally singing Waitress in the shower like this afternoon. So look at that. Small world. But yeah, no, I think I just love it when a movie like has like, do you know what I mean? Like it aids it very well, and it's just nice to see because I don't feel like we get that a lot.
And it also helps with tone. It's a very bombastic and quote unquote over the top, sumptuous, melodramatic, huge score. And the minute that you put that under scenes that are, realistic or stuff like that, it immediately evokes a sort of campy melodrama. Like, I mean, the most obvious example being that hot dog scene, dun, 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 dun. I don't think we ever have hot dogs. And then, so first thing is we meet, and then Elizabeth is driving up to the house, and she's, it's this very evocative, and it's a little bit like Rebecca, or these great classic, driving up to the house, and the music swelling, and we meet Gracie, and we're kind of, I mean, again, I live in a world where I know everything. I sound like such an asshole, but like I watch trailers and I read movie criticism, and it's like, I know, okay, so I've known for years that Todd Haynes is directing a new movie with Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman about a May-December relationship and about an actress coming to visit. So like I've known this for 2 years, but it kind of slow burns the quote unquote reveal of the relationship. And for the most part, we think it's just, a standard relationship. Because obviously that is the great thing of this film, is that it chooses not to show in any way, shape, or form the initial relationship in any sort of exploitive or gratuitous manner, anything like that. And we see everything after the fact. So if you know absolutely nothing and you come into this film, then I don't think we know fully spoken out loud until she visits Grace's ex-husband, Tom, and he's like, what would possess a 36-year-old woman to have an affair with a 7th grader or whatever the grade is? And again, from the off, we get great lines. You just never know. I told you what happened when I met Judge Judy. And
Oh, it's very funny, isn't it?
did it take you a while to get into the swing of the dark comedy, or were you kind of already in on the tone?
I feel like after, like you said, like with the hot dog thing, I was like, this is what? Like, I laughed. My mum was like, "We took Jazz," and I was like, "What?"
Well, yeah.
Like, sorry. Yeah. I think I like dark humor, so I think I
it's
was
fun.
on. So,
And
but then
I'm saying this, it's not actually dark humor. It's humor in a film about a dark subject, but it's
Yeah.
not really like dark humor. It's just like we talk about that melodramatic tone. They're not saying anything like, I don't know. They're not making jokes about the pedophilia.
They're like,
But-
this dude is so funny when you know, a thing happens. It's, but yeah, no.
Actually, no, that's not true. We do have some through Elizabeth, but it's all at the expense of Elizabeth, never Joe. And that's a big, I sound so woke, Jazz. This is so unbecoming. I just spent 2 hours the other day talking about how Killers of the Flower Moon is great and people need to get a grip. No, I didn't. I never said the phrase "get a grip," but and now I'm being so woke.
What's happened?
I don't know. We watched a Big Night at the Musicals last night, Jazz, and I want you to give me 2 guesses what my grandma's biggest problem with Dorothy was in the new production of The Wizard of Oz. No, it was because she was an octave too high and Judy Garland sang lower. You think my grandma's a racist, and that's a horrible thing, Jazz.
Based on her grandson?
No, very
So
good.
King Kong's not a racist.
Hashtag. I'm just trying to think. No, I don't think I am. Okay. We move on. Underrated part of the hot dogs is the immediate cut then to the barbecue and the most overwhelming amount of hot dogs. And there's even more on the side.
Yeah.
And how many people are at the party?
Not a lot, because I'm guessing they don't have a lot of friends.
Well, next great letter coming up soon when Elizabeth shows up with the package. And then, do you know who sent it? Probably some thicko who wasn't invited to enough barbecues. These are the lies that she's told us, that the pervasive humor and the lightness that she touches on everything to just try and continue this world of quote unquote romance and perfection that she has managed. She's done her prison time and she has managed to get to a stage where this is the life that she has so wanted. And then we get, so this is when Joe is doing the barbecue and he's talking with the other dad. And there's a little girl who screams and he's like, I think that's you. And I think Melton just does such an incredible job. It feels like he's doing dress up. It feels like a young lad in a like amateur production playing a dad. Like the clothes like hang on him, just his overall overhunched demeanor. And he's just like, yeah. And we jumped over something. Sorry, when the first interaction we get between Joe and Gracie is him coming in, opening the fridge. Not, I love you. Hello, darling. How are you? Death 2. and then it's more instructions of, can you take out the trash and do that? It's all about control from the very, very off. And then that controlling element kind of disappears for a half an hour or 40 minutes. It's still there, but it kind of goes for a little while, and it's all inferred. I really can't talk about this film enough, Jazz. I really loved Made I really do. I think
It
it's
is a very
yeah.
intricate film. I feel like there's like once you start talking about it, you kind of can't like unlike Saltburn, where you start talking about it and it just like disintegrates in your hands. The amount of debates we've had in rehearsals over whether Saltburn is good or not, it's great.
Have
But
we
then
talked? Does Steve? Do we know if Steve liked Saltburn?
I'll ask him tomorrow.
I
I'll
know
hunt
that
him down.
I know that I emailed him and he said he was nonplussed by May December.
Okay.
However, he did love No Hard Feelings.
Really? You know what? That makes sense. I feel like he'd be a J-Law fan, so you know.
Give her the Nobel Prize for Literature. I mean, what an incredible performance. Have you watched it yet?
Yeah.
Very good. I liked No Hard Feelings.
I love her. I love her. I just love her. I'd watch anything she's in. I think I've watched all of her movies. Love her. What was I even saying? Oh, this movie, when you start picking at it, you just find more and more and more and more, which is what you want from a movie when you're a movie nerd, I feel like.
And it's an hour and 50 minutes, and it's so fucking tight and just moves at such a clip. And also this is an obvious movie in many ways. Like, it doesn't take a genius or a TikTok reviewer to, see the image of Joe working with butterflies, and then we watch him for 2 hours, change and adapt. This is a very on the nose metaphor that we're being presented with. And yet it somehow all works in this tremendous concoction.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. Very, very clever.
We've not really talked about Natalie Portman yet, and I think that's what we should start on before we take our first break. What is your general vibe on Natalie Portman? Are you a Black Swan fan? Are you a Star Wars fan or anything like that? What's your general vibe?
My introduction was to Natalie Portman was my uncle sat me and my sister down when we were staying with my nan and made us watch all the Star Wars films back to back when I was about. All of them were out, so I don't know how old I would have been, but I was fairly young, and I just remember thinking that she's very pretty, but she never gave what I wanted to have.
Well, yeah, I mean those Padme is a different kettle of fish. Have you like Black Swan?
I like Mila Kunis in Black Swan.
Is this where we find out that you don't much care for Natalie Portman?
I do. I care for her. I hope she's well. But I just I just think I've never seen. I think because they look so similar, I compare her to, because I did think that her and Keira Knightley were the same person for a very long time.
How can you say that? Jazz.
I just they've both got brown hair and big, like, doughy eyes, and I thought they were the same person.
Okay.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. You're fine. You're fine. I'll allow it.
Oh, thank you for being so gracious. But yeah, no, I'm just not. I've never got the Natalie Portman thing. I've just never.
Not even Black Swan.
No.
You don't like Black Swan?
I do like Black Swan, but I'm not like, Black Swan, yeah, it's a masterpiece. I was like, oh yeah, that was good.
Did you suck his cock?
But I like Mila Kunis. I think
yeah, Mila Kunis is absolutely sensational. Yeah, I don't need to tell you how much I love
like, let's put recent events aside, but yeah, she's great.
What's she done now? Oh, I don't like when you do this. What's Mila Kunis done?
So you know how what's his face from that 70s show, curly hair guy, is a rapist?
Danny Masterson.
Yeah. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher wrote in a letter being like, "Oh, but it's all right though. Like, it's not that bad." And then they didn't realize that those documents were going to be made public.
Mm,
So then everyone's like, "Oh, they've just supported a rapist." And then they put out a really shitty like Instagram post being like, "Guys, we're sorry." But it just didn't feel, you know what I mean, like from the heart. So everyone's now like, "Oh, but I loved them, so I kind of choose to ignore it." So,
yeah.
who isn't being cancelled these days? Do you know what I mean?
I know it's terrible. You know who isn't being cancelled? Todd. Oh, this will bite me back. No, Todd Haynes. This is the thing. Todd Haynes and Julianne Moore were making movies in the fucking 90s. Todd Haynes's experimental. I mean, he made a movie called Superstar about Karen Carpenter and about her anorexia, where it was all Barbie dolls. And like he made this in the 90s, and he was an avant-garde of the queer cinema. And like he used all of the real Carpenter's music, and that movie, like you can barely find it unless it is illegally. And and he is not uncancelable. I'm sure somebody will be like, well, people are trying to cancel May December. They're like, why are you making a comedy about this? Why is it a comedy? Why didn't you? It should have actually been the Mary Kate Letourneau story. Why are you doing an actress? Blah blah blah. Blah. Who? Stop it! Stop it, please, please. And literally, I go to sleep with podcasts. And I was listening to one the other day, and it was all about Martin Scorsese. And then it got to the end, and I was about to fall asleep, and they were just like, and I think he's one of our great living filmmakers, but Killers of the Flower Moon, terrible. I think it's an incredibly made film that shouldn't have been made. And I just like suddenly woke up, and I was like, what does that even mean?
I don't like that.
I know. And I'm like, please, just let me sleep and let nobody get cancelled.
Tom needs rest, people. Stop throwing these hot takes out.
Yeah, please.
Man can't sleep.
I'm like, oh, please. I was so close to sleep. Yes. Okay, then 2 minutes. Well, I mean, we're going to talk about it for another hour, obviously. But like, what is your Natalie Portman overall vibe in this?
I think that it was not the most. Actually, I take that back because I've just remembered a scene that I actually do think is quite intriguing. Complex. I think she's very complex. You can never really guess what she's going to do, and I quite like that. Keeps you in toes. They all do. Like it. Thumbs up.
I mean, you can guess that she's going to do whatever serves herself and serves the plot.
No doubt. This woman is incredibly self-centered.
I love moments when we're watching movies as a family, and like my sister or mum will say something, and my dad, who stayed quiet the entire time, will pitch in. And I think it was my mum who was like, well, "Why did he have sex with her? Sorry, why did she have sex with him?" And my dad just went, "Well, she's trying to get into the role, isn't she? She's trying to be like her." And I was like, John Carruthers, what a man, coming in off the bench. We're going to take our first break, and then we're going to continue to talk about the wonderful film, starting from Elizabeth's arrival at the Atherton U.
I thought you were going to say
house.
at Saltburn, and I was like, oh.
At Saltburn. During your break, I want you to think of one actor you're going to swap Saltburn and May December. That's your job.
Okay.
Ooh, is it a real Harvey Cup, or is it not? They're not called Harvey Cups, are they?
Harvey.
Stanley.
It's a Harvey Cup because it's not a Stanley Cup.
Because it's not a Stanley Cup. Well, no, the Stanley Cup is golf, isn't it?
I think it was designed originally, for golfers, and then like everyone was like, "Look at how much water you can have."
Oh, do you remember when like people used to write poetry, and now we get? I don't want to be an asshole, but it's like, look how much water we can get into this cup.
People still write poetry.
Yeah,
but we're about to all be drafted anyway. What's the point? Although, actually, I can't be. One time it pains off to be mentally ill, guys.
I'm mentally ill.
I think everyone is. So I don't think they can use that anymore, can they?
Yeah.
So everyone should be, I've got anxiety, so I can't come. It's like, oh, well, fucking everyone else, come on.
It's going to be Yeah, well, we'll see. Conscription. There's no way in a modern mobilized world they'll be able to do conscription. Anyway, before we get into political satire, who are you swapping Saltburn to May December?
Right. I got confused by this question, but I think it can be funny either way. Do you mean what character I would pick up and put into May December, or do you mean what actors would I swap?
Actors, but either work. I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear about.
Because Elspeth and Gracie interacting would be the best thing to ever happen to our eyes. It would be fabulous.
It would be incredible.
But
What sort of cake do you think Elsbeth would have ordered from Gracie?
it would be green. It would be a light green, like Victoria sponge.
I want you to order a cake as Elspeth. Hello, Elspeth. How are you? Also, the name Elspeth.
How does she talk? Oh, she talks like this, doesn't she?
Talk like this. I want to order a mint green cake. Is that right?
I like Victoria sponge, mid green.
Oh, do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? Okay, we're going to stop this now.
Hated that bit.
I also think if you wanted to play Elizabeth a little bit older, I think Rosamund Pike could pull off Elizabeth.
Yes, I agree. Also,
I also think that Rosamund Pike can do no wrong. So,
she is fabulous.
she is wonderful. Where are we? Oh, yeah. So Elizabeth arrives at the barbecue. And, that we have this, Joe, what is it? It's the package of SHIT. Like these weird things like and we hear it all the time.
It's quite funny.
What?
When I first watched it, I thought, when people used to send like poison in envelopes.
The
I thought
not
that
the Unabomber. The
yeah, what?
Yeah.
I thought it was one of those. It wasn't until my second rewatch that I realized that she was spelling out the word shit. It didn't clock.
I know you are dyslexic, Jazz, but do you not sometimes think that it might be more severe than you think?
Probably.
She's spelling the word.
Just like, I thought it was like, oh yeah, like when they're like DHT stands for like bombs. I don't know.
Oh, okay, I understand. Well, I say I understand. Again,
Like, why is she touching it? I was like, that's a bit dangerous, but it was just shit.
Look around, talk to people, do what you have to do, and then go get yourself a hot dog. I want to be crude. That is kind of what she does. She goes around, she talks to people, and in the end, she gets herself a hot dog.
Oh, Thomas.
I'm sorry.
I was like, I don't remember her eating a hot dog.
well, it's too quick to remember anything at all.
Oh, leave him alone.
Maybe my funniest line in the entire film is Elizabeth just walking around the garden with her notebook. Not a line, not a line, but like just looking around, sunglasses. And then she sits down and the daughter comes over to her. I love the daughter's arc. I love everybody's arc. I think it's a perfect film. And the daughter's talking to her. And, I've never met anybody who's on TV before. Well, your parents.
No.
The absolute sincerity of Elizabeth. Well, your parents. Well, that's different. And then we get this first sort of I lied earlier when I said that the first reveal would be the husband talking, because then obviously she comes home and we get these tabloids that she's using for research, and it's pet shop romance, 36-year-old woman impregnated.
Odd, like why did he choose a pet shop? I was trying to like work out the metaphor or the meaning behind it,
Well,
but I was
the hunting and the prey, and it's not that kind of thing,
What goldfish do you know that's hunting another like, what do you mean?
There's not all pet shops are as boring as British pet shops, Jazz.
I know, but even when she tours it, I'm like, that's boring pet shop.
I'd love to see the back room.
Oh, fucking hate that. I couldn't help but giggle. I was like,
yes, it's very funny.
I was like, stop, Natalie Portman, what are you doing?
Slight pout, bird-like, steely, mechanical, or just removed. And then this is montaged with Joe watching Elizabeth Barry clips. Clean, fresh, you. and whether he's aroused, whatever he is. And also, I love that she's winning. And the only thing that we love the glimpses we get into her career, where we slowly realize maybe she's not that great, because the one award that we hear her getting is like, and of course, this award is so much more important because it was voted for by you. So it's a public award. So it's like, I don't know, our version of the National Soap Awards or something like that. You know, it's
I
another.
think it's better though that people vote.
Well, I mean, it did give us the incredible moment of Nicki Minaj, and when she's won so many awards, and she goes, "What award's this?" And then they go, "It's the fan award." Of course, thank you to the fans.
I love Nicki Minaj at award shows. She's so crazy. I love
Very
her.
good. Yo, Miley, what's up?
And Miley's just there like,
If I win an Oscar, I love pranks. And if I win an Oscar, I'll text you and go, odds on 1 to 5 if I go up and say, yo, Miley, what's up? or, you know, I don't know. Martin Scorsese, so let's say I win an Oscar in the next 5 years. So Martin Scorsese is probably there for his final film. And he's like, you know, he's there for his final film and it's a movie about Jesus or something. And everyone's like, oh, Marty, wow. Odds on, I go up and Kanye West him. Yo, Marty, I'm going to let you finish. But
Greta Gerwig.
I do feel bad that I don't feel bad. This happens all the time. Can we please stop pretending that Barbie deserved to be nominated for Best Director over like Little Women?
I would agree. Just because Little Women is my favorite movie, but I think that Little Women did more for women.
Okay. I just was saying it was a better film.
No, because I just think that with the 4 March sisters, you cover such a wide variety of women. Yes, there are white, pretty women, whatever, but like in
Great.
the core,
What's the point?
shut up. But in the core, I think it was less women, and more just women.
Well, nobody talks like people love to do the whole women have minds and souls, but they forget that
the best one. That's not the best one.
Is that after that line, she then says, but I'm still lonely, or whatever she says. You know, like there's another half to that speech.
I care more to be loved than to love, or some line like that. And then it's the other. What's the other line? Just because my dreams are different than yours doesn't mean that they're not important. That's another one. That's a great line. I just feel like Little Women hits it more in terms of feminism than Barbie does for me. But she was still robbed.
She would, sure, yeah. Okay.
What are you going to say? Go on.
We get rid of a Best Director nominee. Who are you putting in? Todd Haynes for May December, or Greta Gerwig for Barbie?
Greta. Sorry, I just love Greta. Not necessarily for Barbie, just for being Greta. Soz.
I love Al Pacino, but he wasn't in a film this year, so you know it doesn't.
Well, Greta was.
Yeah,
but like, I just think that Barbie more so. No, Barbie was very well directed. Sorry.
I never said it wasn't.
But I think it's no, because I'll spend an hour talking about this.
No, Barbie was great. Barbie was great. The middle half was dog shit, but that's okay.
No, I agree.
Exactly.
When they're not in Barbie land, it's not slaying.
Why wasn't it just all in Barbie? How many times have we watched fucking, you know? Anyway, we're not doing this. A movie that's perfect, however, is May December. When he gets into bed, you smell like charcoal.
Oh,
it's still smoky.
I think that's quite fit.
I love the smell of charcoal and fire, but
and fire.
And fire. I do love fire. Have we ever done a barbecue? We have sat around a fire pit. I think it was when when I came back from America? No, it couldn't have been when I came back from America. I didn't know you.
No.
There was one time where it was a fire pit in like Rhian's old house, and
one of Rhian's parties.
And Leanne was there, and you were there.
Eve weren't.
I sound like fucking Dorothy. And
was
you were
Ruby.
there.
It was Ruby's birthday party. No, no.
Anyhow,
It was one of those.
I
Very good.
agree. I love the smell of charcoal and love the smell of smoke. I don't think I want smoke on my sheets.
It's okay if the next day is wash day.
That's
But if not,
now we're back to Saltburn. I'm sorry. Most choice. So let's talk about the lisp and the voice because lots of people have, again.
can you explain it to me, like why it was chosen, or is it just
So basically, Julianne has said, and like when I heard this, I was like, oh, another reason to this film's perfect. So she brought the lisp to Todd Haynes and said, I think she should have a lisp. And her main reasoning is that the way that she has mentally justified it in her mind, her, her perversion, her what's it called? What's it called? Not discretion. Anyway, her crime, to call it one thing, is that she has had to make it in her head that she was, in distress. She was a sort of princess that needed to be saved by, a young virile man, and that this is not a tragedy or a crime or anything like that. It's a true love story. And so she has to put herself into a place of vulnerability to forget that she is the adult. And a way of doing that is to make herself smaller and to make herself more infantile with the lisp.
well then well done, because that makes perfect sense. Because I was going to say it does feel very like childlike.
Yeah. And it comes in and out. It comes in and out, and people are like, she didn't even do the lisp for the whole film. And I'm like,
that's the point, you fucking idiot.
Well, it's like any tick or not. I nearly said deformity. It's like any tick or they Tourette or anything like that. It gets worse when you're more anxious, when you're more, stuff like that. And so, the brilliant who was in charge? Who was in charge? It's only faintly there. I love it.
That's the real her coming out. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
And then we get the introduction of Joe texting and flirting with somebody from the butterfly group.
Butterfly committee.
The butterfly committee, and it possibly going to get some. Do you think, like, there is a world where Elizabeth doesn't show up and Joe steadily still cheats? Oh, firm nod. She's nodding straight away.
Yeah.
I can't finish your sentence. She's nodding.
When he's like, sorry, but as a woman, when a man, like, we know. And I think that Gracie knows.
Oh,
she also...
I thought you were talking about the butterfly girl. I thought you were like, she knows that he's flirting.
No. She knows. Yeah, she knows about Butler. She fully knows. That bitch goes through his phone daily, if not hourly. The control that she has, she knows. But she's also like, as long as he doesn't leave me, he can have his fun. That's what I think. But also, he was searching for her. He needed an out. So it just so happens that Elizabeth turns up and, needs to do a weird acty thing, which includes apparently sleeping with him. He will happen. But also I feel like he just wants to be loved. Yeah. And I don't.
Well, what's his reaction? I mean, we're jumping to the sex scene, but what's his reaction after the sex? It's a reaction of like, are we going to try? Are we going to try and do this? Are we going to...
So cute and innocent.
Can I move to LA? And I mean, is it the line of the film? This is what grown-ups do. I mean, fucking. There's a great. I know you don't watch Mad Men, but like, I saw a great tweet which was like there's a break. It's a divorce. Anyway, there's a real huge argument scene, and she says, and somebody did a tweet of there was no reason for her to go that hard. And he says something like, I can explain. And then she goes, oh yes, you're very good at explaining things. and it's like just a great moment that we've been waiting for 3 series. Love things when they're good, and I don't have any complaints. This is where we get the introduction of Elizabeth's fiance at the flower arranging, and
Yeah.
what's happening there? She's flirting with the Italian producer. I mean, when she's doing the makeup later, and she's like, "Oh, I'm getting a call from the network. Love you," and she hangs up. How do you think Elizabeth's relationship with her fiance is?
I think it's like she clearly isn't a very good. Maybe she is a good actress, but she hasn't been given the chance to show it off. Let's go with that instead of just. I'm talking about the character, not Natalie Portman. Love you,
Yep.
like she's listening. You never know. Never know.
You never know.
But I think that we see it a lot with actors. They have like what they think they need in order to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
And probably for her, I think part of the I'm an actress is I've got a fiance who's cute and he's LA and he's also in the industry. Do you know, I mean, but secretly I'm having an affair with a director. It's like, it's LA. It's what she's supposed to be doing. I feel like it's a film of like what people think they're supposed to do.
Right. I love this is the people I don't want to I love podcasting because and I look specifically with wonderful brilliant people such as yourself because that's just I remember talking I love it when I talk with people and you illuminate a movie I already love even more. Carry on. I've interrupted you and probably lost your train of thought.
No, because obviously Joe's doing what he thinks he's supposed to do, which is to be a husband, a father, but very much play pretend. He doesn't know how to do that. Gracie is, well, she's just a whole fucking chaotic mess, really, but very much keeps up an appearance, but also is. I feel like for both of them, it's kind of like we've fought this battle now, and even though I don't think either of us are particularly overly happy or content with the situation we're in, for the sake of the battle that we've been through, we have to do it. And Elizabeth is doing what she thinks a good actor needs to do in order to give a good performance, which is become the character, which isn't true.
And in each other, they find what they need because, I mean, we go back to Joe talking to Gracie. The fact people are going to finally understand, she's going to show and people are going to understand. And that will help them in, what they're going through. And in each other, they find themselves. This is the flower arranging where, again, we get just wonderful biting, this is Elizabeth. She's going to play me in a movie. I'm trying to show her a good time. That I don't doubt. And then they start talking about the past. And again, so many times it happens, and it happens again at the dinner table of like Elizabeth, trying to sneak in questions as if she's some sort of investigative journalist. And she's like, "You don't ever dwell on the past?" And she's like, "No, not really. So you just automatically, there and you think about your history and your behavior." and it happens again later at the dinner table and it's like why is that relevant? From my understanding the movie will last 1991 to 1995, so why is it relevant? And Elizabeth then backtracks. I've got it here.
Well, she says jumbo jumbo about planting seeds.
Yeah, she's talking about like acting. She's like, I'm trying, sometimes the seeds of the future are, and that's what I kind of look for.
Acting,
yes. I try to look for the seeds of those things. And Gracie just does a brilliant And actually, that's the next scene. Gracie hunts all the time. Again, these are not subtle metaphors of Gracie enjoying hunting, but again, it somehow manages to work. Todd and Julianne and everybody else involved just paint with such a beautiful brush that these things just work so beautifully. And again, talking about just those intricacies and weirdnesses. Like we are now at a stage, the brilliant choice by Sammy Birch to set it around graduation time. So you've literally got Charlie, their son, at a similar age to what Joe was when the rape and the relationship happened, and
Yep.
just an ingenious choice. So even though I'm sure that Gracie has no feelings towards Charlie, her son, the way that she talks about, like, you got to reach your food, you got to build up and look good at college.
Your calcium deficiency.
It's just like, yeah, it just makes you feel it. Just even though, yeah, I don't think she's a serial pedophile at all. I think there's just such an unease when she's talking. And then what does she say? Boys are hard. She tries to get on Elizabeth, make it light.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. And then we get this wonderful scene where we're talking with the ex-husband, Tom, who, again, just another brilliant character. He's not angry. I love, again, people talk about this movie being melodramatic, and in many ways it is, but there's no, I nearly said there's no big crying scene, but we're coming up soon to, she cancelled her cake and she's moving to her sisters. but there's no big, there's no big quote unquote scene with, like this with Tom, the ex-husband. I want to give this actor his name. It's very good. D.W. Moffat, who I know from something. Can't put my finger on it.
He's got a familiar face.
And again, that could be a big, I don't talk to her anymore. She ruined our lives. And no, it's just, it was a long time ago and I'm doing well now. I'm doing good. And everybody, and again, what you're talking about, everybody is just doing what they feel like they should be doing at this stage. You watched How to Get Away with Murder, don't you? He was in that for a while.
Yeah. No, I watched the first couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's very funny that all of the other films that he seems to have been involved in are like Passion for Justice, The Secret She Carried, Hidden Palms, Happily Divorced. It's just quite funny.
It's the exact sort of thing that this movie, that Elizabeth's making.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just like, and what would possess a 36-year-old woman to have an affair with a 7th grader? And again, we see glimpses of anger. We see glimpses of, incredible incredible pain and hurt when he's like, her and the boy, they seem happy. And again, everything is dialed back with this great humor of Elizabeth. Well, I guess we'll just dive in. And again, interesting choices of like, how does Gracie develop these relationships with men? It's from a position of care, from a position of control. What's the charming, how did they fall in love story that Tom tells? He was incredibly drunk at a party and she took care of him. It's broken wing, it's mothering, it's infantilization taken to the extreme when she transgresses. No.
Yes.
Transgressions.
Yeah,
that's what I meant to say earlier. When she transgresses and has an affair with a 13-year-old boy. And then we get, again, I keep saying scene of the film, the dress trying on scene. I mean, in a world where justice was done and Julianne was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, you could very easily have made this her scene. And I love the different ways that we see her control people. Ranging from like weaponization of intense emotionality with the cake scene and that sort of thing. And here, just the subtlest of...
So brave for showing your arms like that. Fuck off.
And again, the weight thing, just a beautiful script. The weight thing comes into play later with, Honor, who's now at college and has broken free and is seemingly a lot looser and more joyful young woman. And, the scale, talking about the scale and that great gift. And was it a scale? That was a tradition. And I've got the line here. My father, oh, sorry. Oh, Mary, I just wanted to commend you for being so brave and showing your arms like that. You know, not to wish to conform to those unrealistic beauty standards. You're different than me. You're a modern woman. And again, like, I don't think you should wear that dress. I think you look ugly with your arms, but I'm never going to say that to you. I'm going to say something 10 times worse and more manipulative and more seeding. And and again, the complexities of the character. She's not some quote unquote dumb, flippant.
No.
She knows exactly what she's saying at all times. Beyond the fact that it's just incredibly well shot with the mirrors, and then again the element of Elizabeth doing the same mannerisms, and
Yeah.
so that was a secret, not mission necessarily, but Todd Haynes and Natalie Portman worked on that together of like as and when to sneak in mannerisms and copying and mirroring.
Well, by the end, it's very prominent.
Well, have you got your cup with you? Cheers.
Oh,
Incredible. Absolutely knockout. And then again, lovely little moments in this. Whenever Gracie talks about her brothers or her father, she's always like laughing, and it's like, ha, ha, ha. My father said to me, "You're either leaving this house in a veil or a box." As
funny.
Yeah, ha, ha, ha. Or when she's talking about her brother later, it's like, he would always be so protective, and he would like throw people around him and like, what's your motivation, young man? And it's like, it's like, it's not good. This isn't Gracie. You've been what we got, sorry. And again, at all stages, we're looking at elements of how media exploits these situations, because she's talking about, how Inside are paid to shoot the wedding, and how, well, that really helped with the house. And, the immense money that must have funneled through them to get that house, to live wealth, to live of relative means.
I was wondering that. I was like, how have they got, like, surely people aren't giving her a job. So
Well, she's got the cakes from Those Who Feel Guilty and Those Around Her.
What is my question?
So, I mean, you get involved with people, don't you? And and obviously he's got the X-ray job, but I'm sure they have an immense amount of wealth just passed through from, one-time deals, Gracie's story and all that sort of thing, and life rights, and the first interview with Gracie Atherton Yu, and now that they're married, they were married and now they're not, and the baby in bars and that sort of thing. You got to pay people to get an interview sometimes, or like, for instance, pay to get inside the wedding to shoot the thing, and we give money to these criminals and these terrible people. And what is the maximalist version of that is the exploiting when it comes to based on true stories. I know you said that you love based on, I don't know. There's been a real, I mean, there always has, but like, there's just such a wave of like murder shows and crime shows, and there's always a part of me, pardon me, that just feels a little bit icky.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that like jumps to mind about the ickiness of the whole exploitation of true crime is the Gypsy Rose, and like the argument that like we've kind of, I mean, she's very iconic, I can't lie, but like,
she's getting that like, dick.
That D is fire. But like, yeah, I don't know. It is, you are giving money to a criminal, but also how do you expect that criminal to make money if you don't give them money?
Like, I think I love Steve Coogan with all my life, and I thought his performance was brilliant and a lot more than caricature. I thought it was sensational. But the BBC making a 4-part series about Jimmy Savile and his crimes rubbed me so very much the wrong way that you have no idea. It really, really got on my last nerve. Unfortunately,
I did Thomas Brothers years.
It did.
I couldn't watch it. I watched the first episode and then I was like, oh, I can't do it.
And that's how T sees it.
Love the little as
Thank you.
well.
Well, doesn't she do? That's how Sue sees it. Doesn't she do a C?
Don't know.
I'm listening to the music of K Dollar Sign Shah. Great stuff. And then, should we jump on to spend a lot of the tour of the pet store? And again, what does the pet store owner have? A laminated copy of the newspaper from when it got when he was on when he made his first when he was ever put on a newspaper front cover. Even as the son of a pet shop owner, where there was a pedophile affair happening.
That needs to go on my fridge. Like, do you know? I mean, I have my first newspaper. Like, to be fair, that I was doing something nicer than, harboring a pedophile.
I wouldn't say he harbors her. Let's leave Mr. Pet Shop alone.
Was he the one to catch them?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was the mum.
No.
Mum owned
I
stores,
think maybe it was the mum. I can't remember. Anyway, somebody, yeah.
Because maybe he did know that it was going on.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think that's a part of the story.
No, but I just like to speculate.
I know. And then again, Elizabeth, I'd love to see the storeroom. And she waits, and then ding, ding, ding.
It's the way she laughs at herself at the end.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, creepy. Otherwise, you're going to lose me.
Oh no! And then again, that side, I think the movie does such a brilliant job of reminding us of the crime without showing us the crime or anything like that. Because what do we see almost immediately after that is her looking at the self-tapes. Because it's not like we don't know what a 13-year-old boy looks like, but the minute that we see a couple of self-tapes.
Until I realised, literally like 2 days ago, my little cousin turned 13, and man's looks not a day over 6 in my eyes.
Well, this is the thing, yeah.
Like, but then I feel like the actor that they choose for the last, like when we see them shooting the movie, he doesn't look 13, he looks like 16.
Well, I mean, me and Rhian recently did Notes on a Scandal, which is another movie with a darkly comedic tone about it, and then there's a pedophile relationship. Anyway, and I think there's you've got to I mean, because you've got that tightrope act of casting an actor who's of age if you are doing any intimate scenes, but also I think it's a cop out to not have him look like a child. Because you lose the whole point. And I think this movie does such an incredible job of not being exploitative, not being gratuitous, not backing, not it feels like, like those like visual like tricks and stuff where it's like shows a picture of an eye and then a knife going across the eye and then a cloud going across the moon, and your mind puts two and two together. That's how I felt about, we hear about the pet shop. We hear about them being found. We see Elizabeth, and then we cut to the self-tapes, and we've put 13-year-old boy in that room having, I think it's very effective without having any gratuitous flashbacking. Because if they did any gratuitous flashbacking, they would be just as bad as the movie, as the, things that they're talking about. And again, Joe texting with this woman, and what does the woman say? I spend a lot of time managing my boss's moods. Yeah, I know how that can be. There isn't a single line in this film that isn't wonderful and delicate. We'll take our second and final break, and then we'll be back to conclude our discussion of, for my bunny, the best film of the year, or at least my favourite. Pardon me.
He loves it so much, he can't contain his excitement.
Gaseous with excitement. Let's conclude our discussion. There we go. Okay. Pardon me. So now we get the wonderful restaurant scene, where, well, not the. Tell a lie. We've got two restaurant scenes. First one is where she's talking to the lawyer, and again, this, not the sort of any sort of stereotype you'd imagine. You could have done, you know, big bold. They're in Georgia, for God's sake. You could have done big bold Southern lawyer. You know, I defend whoever I defend. I don't, you know, if they come across, I pay my money. I don't care. I get my bill. No, he was basically nearly retired, and he'd defended awful people all his life, and his wife had grown sick of it. He moves down to Georgia, and then by chance, within a year, he's living next.
Another awful person.
He's living next door to Gracie, and again, just what a
I think
beautiful.
she bakes him. She bakes him something, doesn't she?
So this is where we get the reveal, very much like Norma Desmond and her fan mail, and with Max going, "I wouldn't look too close at the postmarks." You know, he's writing all the fan mail, and the way that they're keeping her sane and stable is this very small circle of friends and, you know, acquaintances who are just buying the same. You know, how many pineapple upside down cakes can one family eat? You know. You might want to check the names on those orders. It's a handful of names. My wife's one of them. And he tells this great story of, she said, I got caught having an affair. And I said, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Gracie, but that's not illegal. And, you know, if it was, a lot of people would be in a lot of trouble. And she just started to cry. And she said, we're in love. I didn't mean for it to happen, but we fell in love. And then again, a little bit on the nose, but, you know, when did it sink in? Has it sunk in yet? And do you think Gracie is a woman in denial? Or do you think, like you've already sort of alluded to, she is in complete grasp and is just now trying to manicure what is left of her life?
The second option.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I don't know, she just has so many different manipulation tactics that you can't have that many and not know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's also like at the end when what's her other son called? Georgie.
George is yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, I don't know why he does, like he lies, like we talk every day. It's like, well, of course she does, because she's like got batshit crazy control over every single person in her life.
Yeah. Well, this is where we meet Georgie, and this is where we sort of think we get not a twist, but where we sort of get a shift, and it's like, okay, so this is Georgie, so this is and he's singing Peter Frampton, and he's just a rock and roll kid or whatever. And
you know what's so funny is I first saw this actor when he was in Back to the Future as George McFly.
What?
He was in the stage version of Back to the Future. He was the original cast.
In New York or in London?
No, in London.
Did I go see him then?
Probably.
I've seen it twice.
I saw him and he was in it, like, I didn't see it when it first came out.
Corey Michael Smith. Corey Michael, casting creative. Wait a minute. Wait. Really?
No, wait. I think I might
Yeah, you're thinking of Corey English, who played Doc Brown, who is currently playing Doc Brown?
No, I'm not thinking. He looks exactly like the guy who played him. But it's not him. I know him from Gotham. That's where I know him from.
What an incredible moment. Don't worry, Jazz. No matter, Rhian set a very low standard for failure when on the Fantastic Mr. Fox episode, she thought that Justin Timberlake was one of the voices. And yeah.
Who did she think he voiced?
Jason Schwartzman, the son.
Oh, I kind of wish that was the casting.
Oh, yeah. Fuck Britney, I guess.
Oh, let's not bring that into it. I'll just take a breather.
Oh, but I can't enjoy Black Swan anymore. And then he comes over and he's like, "You can't fucking sing this song. Step away, bitches." And and he comes over and he's like, "Hello, Georgie, how are you?" And "Oh, very good. That's wonderful. I really wanted to see you. It's why don't you look me in the eye and tell me how selfish I am, and I'll tell you if you're a match." And very, and again, it's also because Tom's, the ex-husband is so held together. It's kind of the first time we get a glimpse of, like the trauma and the aftermath, the fucked up, the people who have been fucked up irreparably. I mean, everybody has been, but Joe at this stage of the film is holding his own. Tom's quote unquote gotten over it, but Georgie is more visibly
he doesn't hide.
No.
Cray cray.
And as a matter of fact, he wears it as a badge of honor, kind of, and he's like, yeah, I'm fucking nuts.
He's like, I'm the loose cannon of the family.
And then talk about polar opposite scenes, the dynamic sort of comedy of that, the sadness of it, and then we get Joe and his father, and he barely talks, and he's trying to be man to man, and again, the smoking with his dad feels so forced and like dress up, and his dad's just like, well, maybe you'll have time to focus on other things. And the mother's since died, and they never really talked about things, and incredibly solemn. Again, I just don't know how you look at the back hour of this film and don't say that is the nomination, if not your winner for Best Supporting Actor. Sorry. I was very annoyed. I didn't want to get angry with the Oscars this year, Jazz.
Well,
but
everyone's angry, so you might as well be angry. They're angry for different reasons, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted a lot of more May December. There was a moment where I thought it wasn't going to get in on Best Original Screenplay, and I was like, if you fucking dare not give this movie.
What would you have done? Storms the Oscars.
Hashtag Mank. Mank Sweep. Were you that was when we did the Oscars at Christopher Court, but you were asleep. You didn't stay up for the Oscars.
Yeah, I went to bed. To bed. I was tired.
Jazz. Tut.
Well, let's not forget what you did to poor Eve Wengel that season of the Oscars.
Oh, a fucking hotel room.
Next door to the building we lived in.
She we lived next to a hotel, and she bought a hotel room for that Sunday night because what was it? She had
work the next day, and Eve needs dead silence to sleep, and it wasn't going to be dead silent.
And also, it's not I wasn't playing a Led Zeppelin rock concert. It was the Oscars. At most, it was, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Downey Jr. Clapping. It wasn't. I don't know. And anyway.
Because she was opposite the kitchen.
Okay, I'll allow it. It was better than the BAFTAs aftermath. Then we get. That was the tennis day.
Oh.
Elizabeth Barry in drama class, and again, incredibly bizarre, incredibly funny scene. Have you ever done sex scenes before? Yeah, I've done sex scenes. A lot of the time it's mechanical, but sometimes there's real chemistry. And she just starts going on this monologue, incredibly inappropriate, talking about how sometimes you get turned on during sex scenes. And she's talking to kids.
Is that the point, though?
Well, she does. She flirts with Cameron. Thank you, Cameron. And it's the moral grey areas. It's the complexity that makes this interesting. And this really turns off the daughter. This is where the daughter really turns on her.
Basically gone, I like playing bad people.
Yeah.
Who's she playing? Me mum. It's a bit like, oh.
Well, what state, like the daughter in college, what do the kids think of it all? Because they clearly love their dad, and he's clearly a lovely father, and it's so sweet, those touching scenes before graduation. But what do they think of the whole situation?
The oldest one clearly fucking hates her mum. I think twins. I don't know. I think the Mary, is her name Mary? The daughter?
Maybe, I don't. Yes, Mary. Yeah, Mary and Charlie and Honor.
I think the youngest two are quite removed from it. Do you know what I mean? Because
Honor was literally the prison baby, wasn't she?
Yeah, exactly. So she was like fully in it, but I feel like those two have like because like they had friends. I feel like
Yeah.
if they were in Britain, they would not have friends. They would have been bullied relentlessly. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because Americans are a bit more, I don't know, in touch with their feelings, whatever. But like,
Well, I think it's very, very touching, like at the graduation. There's no ebb in the applause. Everybody loves everybody,
yeah,
big cheers from all. And it's quite touching. Because I'm sure they've absolutely obviously been through hell. Um, and then we get this makeup scene, and it was one of the first images that we got, and they're practicing their makeup, and again, it's just not necessarily sexual, but sensual and evocative, and two incredible performers, both matching each other's manners. What did your mother do? She wrote a pretty respected book on epistemic revitalism. My mother wrote a pretty good recipe for peach cobbler, and they're there, and it's very bizarre work and effective. And then we get into taking a walk with Joe and Elizabeth. When do you think Elizabeth makes the decision that I think that she needs to or wants to have sex with Joe? Is it an impulse thing when she gets the chance to be driven home?
no, because she flirts with him before that.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting choice that she's not the one who says I want and can you drive me home, please? Gracie
No,
is like, do you think Gracie knows that that's going to happen? She's the one who sets it. Well,
no.
quote unquote, sets it up.
I don't think she knows that that is what's going to happen.
Mm.
Dude, fuck you for yawning. Yeah, no, I don't think that she's. No, she can't. No,
No.
but I
Either
think
way.
that.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I just think Elizabeth was like. I don't think she planned it, but I think she's a bit like, if I get the chance, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah. And either way, he comes home to a crying Gracie, and Elizabeth. Oh, that's getting on my left nerve. And oh, I mean, you talk about camp. I mean, you could see somebody drag queening miming this. I've got it here. Um, what happened? Why did she cancel her order? She said her sister's sick, but it doesn't matter. I spent hours making that cake that I could have used. And and then again, just the nature of their relationship. What does Joe do? That's beautiful.
Just eats the cake,
That's
drinks the Kool-Aid.
drinks the Kool-Aid. I explained drinking the Kool-Aid to somebody the other day. They didn't know what it meant.
Oh,
Mm,
that's horrible to have to explain
I
that.
know, it was bizarre. And then they went, what? um, and then we go to Elizabeth just doing her research on the sex offender registry, talking about the kids, and she's like, I don't know. Have you seen any of the other kids? I just feel like, because
Not
these
hot
kids are
enough.
cute, but they're not sexy enough. And then
So weird.
the guy, Elizabeth, I think you should come home. Hard cut out. Oh. Hmm. And then the film takes this takes this shift more into the somberness and more into the sadness. We're long since removed from the frequent comedy of the barbecue scene at the very start, and we carry on, and then we get to this scene, Joe and his son smoking weed on
Oh,
the, which again we think is possibly going to be like a sort of funny scene, but immediately plays to the tragedy of it, which is that it's a son taking care of his dad because the dad has had no adult life at all. Sorry, no childhood, and has been thrust into adulthood. And I just wanted to say, to you to have a good life, because bad things, they happen, and we do bad things also, which is the perfect sort of, weedy isn't an adjective, but like weed weed fueled genuine sentiment. And again, I don't know how you watch this scene and not give him the Oscar straight away. I mean, I did love Downey and Oppenheimer, but if the president knows about it, then don't you think he should know? Have you watched Oppenheimer yet?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay. He turned Einstein against me.
Well, like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They give Oscars for careers, not for performances. Sorry.
Oh,
And it's that it happened last year with Jamie Lee Curtis.
don't get me
So
started. And do you know how much I love Jamie Lee Curtis and how badly these past two Halloween movies have been bad enough, but not as bad as her talking about them and her being like, well, I mean, we were writing this and George Floyd was happening and it's about trauma and it's about Me Too.
Oh.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
and when Tom tells you to shut the fuck up, you know you've really crossed the line.
It's about a man stabbing people. And also, the point of your Halloween movie was that the was that the mob made the wrong decision. So stop saying that your movie's about Black Lives Matter when the mobs were making the right decision. It's about trauma. Anyway, and where were we? Jamie Lee Curtis. Yes, they do give award. No, I do think that he was deserved for Oppenheimer, though, I have to say. Well, anyway, we'll see. Where are we? Oh yeah, sorry. And then and then an absolutely incredible button on the end of that scene. Dad, don't worry about me. It's all I do. Oh,
Tears.
no.
Tears.
Oh.
Tears. Oh, you know what? The more and more I talk about this film, the more and more I'm mad that he's not nominated.
I know. I know.
Yeah, it's
I know.
Because he's bloody good. He's really good.
There's just such a wave of. Oh, poor Charles. You know what? Well, he will be winning, certainly nominated for the Thomas Carruthers Best Supporting Actor Award, as we, you know.
That's all that matters.
That is all that matters. Previous winners include the Thomas Carruthers Supporting Actor. I've got it here. Let's see who won last year. Last year's winner was Justin Long for Barbarian.
Perfect.
Nominees were Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, Stephen Yun for Nope, Mark Rylance for Bones and All, and Paul Dano for The Fabelmans.
Who is he in Bones and All?
He was the pervert who follows them.
Yeah,
I know.
Oh,
how sensational. Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Because I'm home alone right now and it's like I need to go and check the doors. Oh
no, it's okay. Why don't we talk about Bones and All? Jazz. I saw the Challengers trailer for the first time in cinemas. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I actually can't wait.
Come on. I love what a great song S&M. When I used to DJ on board the luxury liner that I DJ'd, well, I was a quiz host and sometimes I had to DJ. S&M still plays. And these are two middle-aged women and they love it. They love Rihanna, particularly that song.
Who doesn't love Rihanna?
Yeah. Okay, where were we? We were talking.
Dark joke then, but I take it back.
I think we all know. I think.
Yeah.
Just say that's like saying the lead up to a joke. Yeah, knock knock. Who's there? Doctor. Actually, I'm not gonna say the answer. We know the answer.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. And then Gracie talking again with Elizabeth, and then Joe's been with more women than I have men. Nobody remembers that. And again, these little things that she clings to as some sort of defense. And he grew up very quickly, but I was very sheltered. And then she shows him the peace card. Peace is sitting on a lake. Peace is a cold Coke. Peace is being with you. The assignment was what it Pete.
Really? Thought it was write a poem about Coke.
Yeah, that would be rude. And then we get the graduation dinner. I also love the little inklings we get to the terrible show that she's on that must be some sort of Grey's Anatomy with animals, because he says like, I saw the episode where you were working on an elephant or whatever, and then when the daughter comes up, she calls it Nora's Ark, which is the name of the show. So it's like, okay, so it's Grey's Anatomy with animals. This is incredible. Um,
I thought that it was like some sort of Noah's Ark, yeah, but like told from the perspective of like Noah's wife. But I realize now that that's not what it is. But that's what I briefly thought it was.
could have been. I guess it could have been. Interesting. um, and we get the tradition of the scale, which we've already talked about. You tried living your life through with the scale, Missy, and then we talk, and then she's in the bathroom, and like, what were your expectations? That tonight would go well, that my children would love me, and that my life would be perfect. And Elizabeth, it's the only time she really confronts Gracie, and she says that's a little naive. And what does Gracie do? Even that, I'm going to take the power. I am naive. I always have been. In a way, it's a gift. You can spin the deepest insult a person says about you. Incredible. And then here's an interesting element. We get this story with the brothers from George's point of view, that her brothers molested her or attacked her. How do you, where does that sit for you? Do you think that is true? Do you think that Gracie at the graduation is just again averting, or do you think she literally, or do you think this is just another? Because we have seen Georgie before, be the way that he is. Do we think he is telling the truth, or is he just trying to get some attention?
I hope that it is just trying to get some attention. Because if that is true, then I feel like it's a really bad sort of attempt at a justification. Almost.
We have this all the time. She's like, you can see her excitement of like, oh, brilliant. I understand the character now. It's like therapy. Everybody waits for that big penny drop moment. It's like, oh my God, she was raped. Brilliant. I can use this. I can really get into the character now because I know that she was attacked. Oh, this is fun. You can see her. And so very often in reality, there is no great justification for people's actions. Just because you killed somebody in a cinema when they were playing Shrek doesn't mean that you got attacked when you were younger watching Shrek. That's the bizarrest example I could have ever given for a crime and a reason to commit a crime.
But I understand what you were going for, and that's what matters, Tom. Don't know why Shrek was on your mind.
I'm in my sister's room and she has a little Shrek thing.
Oh.
Elizabeth and Joe have very, very, very quick sex. And Charles Melton is an incredibly handsome man. And it's easy for us to build up an idea of a sort of, sexual bravado. Pardon me, sexual bravado. And kind of get not on Gracie's side, but we can see, because we've only seen adult Charlie, adult Joe. Oh my God. We get
caused Thomas to have a brief hiccup attack.
We get a sort of conflation in our heads of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'd fall in love with Charles Melton. Oh wait, no, it was Charles Melton when he was 13. And another brilliant way that the movie deals with that is by showing that he is sexually inexperienced and has been having sex with a mentally immature and at worst deranged woman for 20 years now. And he finishes in like 30 seconds. And Elizabeth's like, oh, okay. How did you feel about this shift?
Kind of saw it coming.
Well, yeah.
Pardon the pun. But yeah, I feel like it was just, well, of course, that's what, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's the final, the final power play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
just makes me think, what was she doing in the third? Do you know what I mean? Because she was like, he's been with other women, blah blah blah. He's
yeah.
more experienced. He's been with more men than I, not more men, more women than I have men. And it's like that'd be a different movie. But it's yeah, I was just a bit like, really, girl? This is what you went to prison for?
Well, I think, like, again, I love Notes on a Scandal, and Rhian had an issue with. There is a moment in the film where we see a really quick blast of sex, and it's like this dirty, like young lad, like writhing on Kate Blanchett, who's a grown woman, and Rhian was like, "That's," and it's incredibly quick, and Rhian was like, "That's incredibly gratuitous, not necessary," and I'm like. I think it's needed because you kind of the way that these stories are told, you kind of have a little bit of, oh yeah, no, oh all right, she fell in love. You know, these things happen, and you've got to remind yourself of like, I know she's what the fuck is in your head? Like, this is what you've thrown your life away is for 30 seconds with some fucking young scruffy lad who's a child and you're committing a crime. It's incredibly dexterous, incredibly depthful work. And then Elizabeth, like Joe, whatever he's going through, he's talking to her after the sex, and he's just like, yeah. And then she throws in, "This is just what grown-ups do." And he comes home and he's incredibly shaken. And then we get this incredible scene between him and Julianne. You're lucky I'm that jumpy, and then he throws in, I think there are a lot of things that we haven't talked about in a while, if ever. Do you think this is the first time that he has broached this in such a bold manner?
Yeah. I think the only other time they've ever like spoken about it has when it's like been like in court or when they've had to.
Yeah.
And it's not to each other, it's to like other people being like, but this is what happened. But also from a place of like justifying it rather
Through
than actually
legal
talking
rigor.
about
Yeah.
it. And yeah, I think she knows the damage she's done and can see it, which is why when he tries to talk about it, she just shuts it down straight away with
I mean,
what she
such incredible moments, what if I wasn't ready to make those kind of decisions? What's her response? You seduced me. But I was 13 years old. Don't give me that. I literally, when I watched it with that, don't give me that always gets a guttural. And then we get into who was in charge? Who was in charge? Who is in charge? And it's gaslighting. It's everything. It's everything. It's a master class. People talking about Julianne in this as if it's just some over the top raucous thing. She goes the goddamn span of emotions and different tactics to. I think it's a sensational performance, and I think he is obviously sensational, as we've already discussed. And I think together in this moment, I mean, it's where the film really does take a nosedive into tragedy, and him, coming to realizations, and it's just incredibly, incredibly powerful work. And then we get Elizabeth Barry solo monologue, solo single shot, unbroken frame, the soft whir of like an air conditioning unit in the background or something, and she is doing a perfect performance, impression, imitation of Julianne as Gracie, and delivers this monologue, the only love letter that Joe managed to say. My love, after you left tonight, I thought about the kind of life we could have had if things were different. And then, please burn this. You know what could happen to me if anyone ever found out. And
dun, dun, dun. It's
just incredible filmmaking. Todd Haynes, when he read the script, he loved Ingmar Bergman movies. There's a movie called Winter. It's either Winter Light or Winter Sleep. I'm a bad movie lover, and that has one of those where they deliver a letter this way, and it's a solid frame. And he thought that would be the way to do this, and that would be one of the reasons to make this movie. He's always wanted to do that, and again, it's an incredible moment to see how Elizabeth actually put again, I think it's master and it's a true masterclass from Natalie Portman. I don't know. I'm sorry to throw you under the bus, Jazz, but I don't know how you don't watch this monologue and don't go, yeah, Natalie, wow.
I kind of forgot about the monologue. I can't lie.
That's okay.
I A lot happens in this movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Um,
It
yeah,
does come sort of as a culminating moment. I can see not how to forget it, but it does come at sort of a, it doesn't pop, and it is sort of acts as showy offy, in every impression
yeah.
of if you want to say that and all that sort of thing. And then we're just riding now to the end. We see Joe in the morning of the graduation, and it's touching and it's lovely, and he's being a real father, and it's very nice. And then we get the graduation, and then we get Charles Melton, sorry, Joe watching from afar and just fucking breaking down.
Why was he watching from afar? I can't remember why.
I
Is there a
just don't
reason?
think I just don't think he wants to sit with Gracie.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just lied to her and said, I'm going to go for a walk because he doesn't want to be around her right now. And he just breaks down, and it is every single thing coming to bear. It's him realizing he lost his childhood, him realizing that he is, possibly as a father not giving his children all that he can because of his own mental things going on. He's watching his children grow up and live adult lives that he will never have. He's coming to terms with the end of a relationship that did have love, for whatever, way you want to spin it. He's coming to terms with the end of his love, and it's an incredible, incredible performance. And again, it makes me angry.
Yeah. Rhian.
And then Elizabeth and Gracie, final showdown. They're both basically wearing the same thing, same sunglasses. And Elizabeth, with the knowledge that she has about,
Oh, this is another thing that's really random. That's just I don't know why. But why does she always have just such a massive bag on her?
why not? People need bags.
But then she had a tiny one right next.
Maybe she needs her asthma. She's got asthma. She has
Sorry, Mum.
asthma. She has asthma. She has asthma things, maybe. And she thinks, yeah, I wonder if any of this will have actually mattered for your movie. And, do you think you understand me? Yeah, I think I do. And, she's like, yeah, I've got the rape thing. You have no idea that I know about your brothers. Ha ha ha. I know
Pulls
you
an Uno
inside and
reverse.
out. Pulls a what?
She pulls an Uno reverse. When
Una,
someone's
yeah,
looking for an Uno, they're like,
I thought you said Una. And I was like, who is Una Reverse? What a drag queen name. Una Reverse.
Uno reverse.
Una Reverse
Copyright.
card. Una Reverse card.
Copyright it.
I'm in. And she goes, I hope you didn't believe anything that Georgie told you. That disgusting stuff. Just disgusting. And whether it's true or not, it rocks Elizabeth, you know.
Mm.
And then we get the line. I mean, I wish this movie came out when I was doing my yearbook. Because I could have written down, I talk to Georgie every day. Insecure people are very dangerous, aren't they? I'm secure. Make sure you put that in there. That would have been my yearbook quote. What a great line. And and then the reason she's got a huge bag is because she needs to hug it for dear life as Gracie
Yeah.
walks away, and she's just like shakes a little bit. She even stumbles a little bit. And
Yeah.
incredible moment. And then we get the final moment and the final, it's not that kind of thing. And we realize that all of this was for a pretty shitty average Lifetime movie. And it's going to mean nothing, and it's not going to illuminate any truth, but possibly some truth has been done to Joe. As we conclude our conversation, Jazz, although you've turned around on it, what was your first sort of resistance to this ending and the cringiness of it, intentional cringiness of it, and how you were turned off by it?
I think it was that. I think it was like, oh, all of this for fucking that. Like you've essentially given a family a mental breakdown, and in her own way manipulated these people in order to give this great performance, and then your great performance is that. all right, love. At least actually, like, you know, but obviously now I get it. But it just took me a minute. I'm a bit slow.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I think, yeah, and to be honest, I don't want to be that guy. I picked up on like the shittiness of the show, and to be honest, on my first watch, I was like, this is going to have a reveal that the movie's shit. And I'm not saying that as arrogant Tom or movie buff Tom or anything like that, but I felt it coming of like, oh no, this is going to have a reveal that it's not an Oscar movie at all, that this is just that she's a bad actress or something like that. I did feel, because I love Todd Haynes, and I felt that sort of sick, that twist coming. And when it did happen, to be honest, when it did happen on a first watch, I was a little bit underwhelmed because I kind of felt it coming. But now I don't feel that underwhelming at all. And on a second and third watch, and I'm sure I'll watch this, once a year for the rest of my life, probably. I really do adore this film. And it's a stunning, stunning piece of work. If you were to give, so it's nominated for Best Supporting, for Best Original Screenplay. Obviously, we wish we could give Charlie Boy his Best Supporting Actor. I'm going to allow you to give it one more nomination. What are you giving it?
Not at the sacrifice of Greta's spot, but Best Director.
Wonderful, Jazz. I love that you're coming over to Todd World. Thank you. We're a bunch of weirdos. It's great over here.
No, I do want to watch his other movies after this.
Well, Carol, Carol's obviously beautiful. Carol's sensational. Far From Heaven is very good. Far From Heaven is Julianne Moore, and it's the story of a woman who finds out her husband's gay in the 50s. Meanwhile, she's falling in love with a black gardener, but it's shot exactly like a movie from the 40s, or the 50s. So it's about incredibly provocative material, and it has swearing, and it has a little bit of, sexual gratuity, especially with the gay stuff. I mean, they were never going to make a movie about finding out your gay husband in the 50s unless it was, my husband's a queer. It would be terrible. And the black gardener stuff and the racism there, but really tremendous film. That, for me, that was Julianne's Oscar to lose, and well, she lost it. And Safe's very good as well. I don't know how Safe didn't get on Netflix or something during COVID. Safe's a great movie, his first collaboration with Julianne Moore in his first major film, and basically it's the 80s, and she just becomes like sick and allergic to everything, and she's like wearing COVID masks. This is when we'd call them surgical masks. It's weird, isn't it, how we just call surgical masks now COVID masks?
Yeah. Right, come on, because you've got less than a minute.
May December's the film of the year. I fucking loved it. I think that this movie contains multitudes, and any argument that you have against it, like it being appropriate or it being ill-informed or gratuitous itself, I think everything is in the text. Jazz, how do you feel?
I would agree. I love a movie that makes you think, and has every single character that was shown had like complexity to them, and I think that that's brilliant. And I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10 because I just can't stand the list. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what I think about that? I think you're insecure, but I'm secure. I'm secure, and in a way, it's a gift. Thank you very much, Jazz. You're wonderful as always, and I don't know when we will be together again.
Soon, because we'll be living together in London. Manifest.